Welcome back to Story Time, and today I thought I would read an extra story because this week has been Science Week and we've been learning lots of science things and doing lots of experiments during your time at home. So I found a story that is called Oscar and the Snail, and it's a book all about things that we use, and lots of the things that we've been talking about this week in our Science Week are included in this story. So I thought it would be a nice extra story for you to listen to while you're at home this week. So let's see what this story is all about. Oscar and the Snail. One morning, Oscar was out in the garden exploring, and he found a nest. Along slid a snail. "The birds are building it as a shelter for their eggs," Snail said. "What do they use to make it from?" Oscar asked. "Different things," Snail said. "The outside needs to be very strong to keep out the weather, so they use twigs and leaves and roots for that job. And the inside of the nest needs to be soft to sit in." Snail went on, "So do they use moss and spiders' webs for that job too?" "And feathers," said Oscar. "Ah, yes," said Snail. "Feathers help to hold the air in, and it keeps the nest nice and warm. So when the eggs are put into the nest, the feathers and the moss keep the eggs nice and warm so that they get ready to hatch." Just then, a loose feather blew away. Here it goes, it's blowing away, and it landed on a bowl of water. "Oh, look," said Oscar, "the feather is floating." Oscar pushed a stone into the bowl. Splosh! "Oh, why doesn't the stone float?" he asked. "Stones are pieces of rock," Snail said. "Rock is heavy and it doesn't have any air in it, so it sinks. A feather is light and a feather has air in it, so it floats." I think a lot of you were trying this week to see all the different things that float and sink, the same as Oscar and the Snail discovered. Oscar saw some more stones. "Oh, they're all different colours," he said. "Yes," said the Snail, "but they feel different too. Some are rough and some are smooth, but all of them are heavy and useful for keeping the netting weighed down." So there's some lovely new strawberry plants growing here, and they put a net over the top and they've used the heavy stones to hold the net down in place. I wonder why they had to cover up the plants. It started to rain. "Ooh, boo," shivered Oscar. "My fur's getting wet. I wish I had a shell like you." "It's true," Snail said. "My shell does help me keep dry, but it lets go to the greenhouse so that you can be dry and warm too." So they're going to travel down the path and go into the greenhouse so Oscar can stay dry and warm. "Look, can you see through those walls?" Oscar said. "Yes, they're made out of glass," Snail said. "Glass is strong, like my shell, so it keeps out the rain and it shelters the young plants. And glass is clear, so it lets the light through so that you can see through it." The light warms the air inside the greenhouse, Snail went on, helping young plants to grow. Where does glass come from? Oscar asked. Glass is made out of sand, Snail said, like the sand in this heap. If you make sand very, very hot, the grains melt together and become stretchy and clear. And when it cools down, it sets hard, and that's when it's turned into glass. How strange. Glass is made out of sand. And Snail told Oscar about some other materials that are made. Logs of wood are broken into bits. They are squashed and rolled again to make paper. When oil from deep under the ground is heated, it makes chemicals, and that can be mixed together to make plastic. So paper is made out of wood from the trees, and plastic is made from oil from the ground. Seeds of wheat are ground into flour and then mixed with water and yeast and baked into bread. So bread is made from the wheat. Wool from the sheep can be combed and spun into knitting to make cloth. We talked about that before, didn't we? That the sheep or the lambs give us wool, and then we can use the wool and we can spin it and make it into balls of wool, and then we can knit and make jumpers and other woolen clothes. Clay and sand and water are mixed together and baked in a very hot oven to make bricks. Lots of interesting things to learn there about different materials, and we were learning about materials at the beginning of the week in our Science Week this week. Just then, Poppy put her head around the door. It looks lovely and dry in here, she said. It's warm too, Oscar said. Greenhouses are made out of glass. And then he told her all about the useful things that he had found out that morning. And here's all the useful things that he found out. He found out about choosing materials to make the nest, the hard things for the outside of the nest and the soft things to keep the nest nice and warm for the eggs to hatch. He found out about some things that float and some things that sink. The feather is light and full of air, so it floats on the top of the water. But the stone was very, very heavy and didn't have any air in it, so it sank right to the bottom. Oscar and his friends also discovered where different materials come from. They discovered that the twigs and the wood can be used to make paper. They discovered that the sand could be used to make bricks and glass. And they discovered that the plants grow in the greenhouse because the greenhouse is made of glass and it stays nice and warm inside and moist. So the plants like the warm and the sunshine and the moisture from the water to make them grow, just like our sunflowers when we had in nursery that needed the air and the sunshine and the water to make them grow big and strong. And I looked at them in my kitchen this morning and they are getting taller and taller. So I will soon be putting them out in the garden to see if we can really grow them tall, and hopefully we'll get some sunflowers, some flowers before the end of the term. So that's a little extra story for you this week called Oscar and the Snail, a book about things that we use. So I hope you enjoyed all the extra activities this week in Science Week, and perhaps another week when we're busy working at home, we can have another Science Week and learn lots of new exciting things. Take care, and I will come back to read you some more stories about soon. Bye bye.